you ready? Hi, everybody. Welcome to our 4 o'clock live. I am here with Alika. How are you today, Alika?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Thanks for being here. Can you believe we're 1 week away from Christmas?
Yeah, 1 week. I know. It just went by like that. You know, we didn't even get our Christmas tree yet.
You haven't?
No.
I didn't get one either, but it's because I have a cat, and she's still kind of a baby, and she's completely insane. Like, I don't know what happened with this cat, but she's like wild. And so I know if I got a tree, I'd come home, it'd be down, the ornaments would be all over the house.
That's what my wife said. She's like, well, maybe we shouldn't get one this year because, you know, my son, he's at the age where he wants to pull everything and tug and everything.
Oh, yeah. How old is he?
He's 15 months. He just made 15 months yesterday.
Aw, how sweet. 15 months.
Yeah.
And that's your first child?
Yes.
All right. So your first child, your only child in sobriety. How much time do you have?
I'm going on 5 years now.
Right on, man. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That must have hurt.
I know, my palms. Ooh. This was a crazy night out back in the day. Yeah, it's fallen out quite a bit.
Like if I had to choose between that or this, I would choose this again and not that.
Yeah, so that's new, right?
Yes.
So what was the meaning behind it?
To be honest, all my tattoos is Polynesian style because, you know, I'm from Hawaii and born and raised in Hawaii. Oh, except for this one right here. Get a close up on that. My wife is gonna love this.
Aw, there you go. Shout out to the wife.
Yeah. But if you notice, like in this part, I can't really see it, but it looks like this. The lauhala, it represents family. You know, a lot of. I'm very family oriented. You know, growing up in Hawaii, you've been there a lot.
Yeah.
You see, the culture is different. Everything is different about Hawaii, especially the people. So I'm very, you know, family oriented. I love building relationships with other people. I love doing that. Yeah.
You got great energy. You can just tell that you're like a people person.
Yeah.
For sure. So out in Hawaii, what is the recovery road like out there?
It's like, to be honest, it's like non-existent, honestly.
Really?
There isn't really any recovery, like anything really. I mean, there's a lot of 12-step fellowships and things like that. But from everything that I've been hearing, you know, back home, there really isn't a whole lot of recovery, anything going on. And, you know, I got sober in California. I didn't get sober in Hawaii. I believe it would have been so much more difficult if I was to try to have gotten sober in Hawaii. Because, you know, I never really had a problem. You know, like that's what I used to think. You know?
Our mind's trying to kill us.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been back home since I've been sober 4 times. I've been to different meetings, but a lot of the meetings I've gone to, the people there, honestly, they're old enough to be my grandpa and grandma.
Oh, wow.
You know, so when they see me show up, they're like, hey, keep coming back. And because there's other kids like your age and younger, they see us, they don't want to, they leave, you know, and things like that. Like it's the recovery community in California is way different than the recovery community in Hawaii. Yeah,
so you get an opportunity to go out there, be a role model. You got your own movement going on here. Yeah. So what is this that you're repping?
Okay, so Pro Recovery Power, it's a nonprofit that we started, and it didn't start with nonprofit. I started it last year in the middle of the pandemic. I was thinking, man, what can I do to still be of service to somebody else? Because, you know, people, they didn't have the same resources I had when I got sober. So I was like, what am I gonna do? So I decided, I know, I'll make a separate page on Instagram geared toward recovery. I see a lot of people doing that. I was like, okay, let me try that. And then I was trying to think of a name, and Pro Recovery Power was the first name that I thought of, and I stuck with it because I'm much more pro recovery and I'm less anti-addiction. Because being anti-addiction is problem focused, but I'm much more solution oriented today. And in that is a lot of power. If you can see it, it's in my arm, or it's in my logo here.
It's strong. I
love it. The first P, that is actually, if you're from Hawaii, you know. Everybody else, they don't know what that is. That is the big island of Hawaii. It's where I'm from. And of course, you know, get the fist. So what my logo symbolizes basically is where I'm from and what I stand for. Because I was told, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So that's how it started. And then I started making recovery clothing. We got the YouTube page going. We got website. You know, we got all these different things. I started a recovery meeting, and it's a non-denominational meeting. You know, all fellowships, all support groups are welcome at my meeting. It's through Zoom on Wednesday nights at 7. Then I started running panels in my area locally in different sober livings and treatment centers and everything like that. And then I never came up with the idea of nonprofit. So I had this vision. I was missing something. And one day my wife goes, why don't you start a nonprofit? I was like, bing, like that piece of the puzzle.
Good job,
boom.
wife.
Yes, yeah. Shout out to my wife, man. 2 is better than 1.
Yeah.
2 brains is a lot better than 1
For
brain.
sure.
So I was like, yes, let's do that. And then we got the ball rolling. It's a process, a lot of paperwork, all this tedious stuff. And honestly, I give my wife all the credit because she helped me with all of that. I'm like, put me on the front lines. Like all this detailed, tedious things. I don't want to. That's not my, that's not my cup of tea type of thing. And so basically, what my nonprofit does is basically it helps. It extends my reach. Because we got more resources. We're actually we're hosting this Sunday a Christmas party up in Rancho Cucamonga, and everybody's invited. But I called some treatment centers because I would like new people, newly sober, newcomers to come, and they can see like, wow, you can actually have fun and stay sober. And just providing that safe place for people in this time, because during the holidays, a lot of relapse, deaths, traumas come back up, and things like that. So
I love that. I love all of it. So you started this about a year ago.
I started it on August 19th of 2020.
Okay. So I'm curious, because you were sober for about 4 years before you started that, right?
Yeah.
So what was that for you, that light went off and you felt you had to do this? Like that drive that you have, wanting to recover out loud, help people 4 years into your sobriety, and you realize, you know what, I got to do this. Like, what was that about you that pulled you to that?
What it was building my relationship with God. That's how everything started. And the more I sought Him out, the more I would hear from Him, and I started to hear, through my addiction, my purpose was birthed. So I'm driven by my purpose. So when I started, praying, seeking, doing all these different things, I started thinking, wow, okay, I can really help people on a massive scale if I try to do this, but I don't know what it was. My wife knew what it was. I didn't really know exactly. So that's how I just felt led, to do that. And this is the truth. I've never publicly said this before. It's the first time I'll ever say it. I don't know if it's the last time I'll ever say it though, but I'll just say this. Not everybody was happy for me that I started this movement, or I started a nonprofit to help, people struggling with drug and alcohol addiction. And it's amazing. The people that you think will support you the most is, where are they, and things like that. But, I look at those things like, people saying this, people talking about you, the gossip, whatever. I just look at it as these things are all sent my way to distract me, because nothing can stop God's plan, really. So if I'm focusing on God's plan, and then so-and-so is talking about, what happened? And I get all into that. It breaks my focus.
Yep.
I cannot throw a rock at every dog that barks.
No, for sure. And I so believe that, and I agree with you, and I experience that in my life all the time. And how I like to look at it is kind of what you were just saying, is that you have this amazing thing, right? And then God, wherever your higher power is going to test you to see if you deserve it.
Yeah.
To see if you're strong enough, to see if you can fail and then fail forward and push through and take the criticism. And you'll have these haters and jealous people and people that don't want to be involved. And it's when you push through that, then it just blossoms, because then it's okay, you deserve it. You know what I mean? You're able to push through all these things. So that's amazing. I love it.
Something in that whole process that I learned was so profound. I actually heard this, what I'm about to say, when I was still active in my addiction. And then years like that, everything I've ever learned, whether it was a public speaker, a motivational speaker, through church, somebody, these seeds was always planted in me. And so I remember hearing this. I was still active in my addiction. And it's everything I learned in this process of, this to that, people saying this and that, is simply to be in step with God will sometimes take you out of step with people. And I understood that. I was like, man, this is exactly what is happening to me. Some people are in my life just for a season, but see, that's something I'm working on, because I love people. I love people, and I want them in my life forever. But God, just like this building, when it was built, there's a scaffolding, they put it up, but the scaffolding don't stay there. Eventually, when the building is up, the scaffolding is removed. The challenge is allowing people to exit your life peacefully the same way they came in.
Right.
You know, instead of like fighting and
Well, yeah,
you know?
that's what I was going to ask you, because you have a very big heart. It's a parent, and you feel strong. You know, you have those emotions. So how do you deal with that in your heart? You know, because obviously it hurts.
Yeah.
So what are your coping skills? What do you do when something like that happens?
Like when I hear so and so and this and that.
It's time for them to exit. You got to put up that boundary. That season with them is over. How do you deal with how your heart feels?
Honestly, I always revert my mind to go back to my purpose and the call God put on my life, because it's so intensely like in me, this passion and everything, this fire. When I start focusing on all the wrong things, then it hurts more. Oh, I feel like I have cried because people have exited my life, because I love people, and it's not bad. It's not like, oh, we got into a fight and, you know, whatever, they moved away or whatever the case is. But focusing on my mission, my call, the purpose that was put on my life, that honestly, when I start thinking about that, all this other things just goes boom, and then that's all I can see.
The grand plan.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah,
for sure. So the direction of this, it's locally, is it in Hawaii as well for people out there? Or?
Yes. So our plan right now is I started, the nonprofit idea came from my wife, but we talked about, it's based in Hawaii, because we're gonna be moving back to Hawaii. Cause like I was saying earlier, you know, there's like no recovery, nothing going on. Every time I go back home, I see like, you know, some of the elders in the community, and they know that I'm sober now. And then whenever I talk to them, they're always like, Alika, you gotta come back. There's no, nothing, recovery, anything going on. Like your answered prayer. That was the common thing people told me about me, is that, look, your answered prayer, because everybody in Hawaii that knew me, would party with me, that just knew me and how I operated, how I conducted myself, knew something was wrong. You know, if they didn't know I was drinking and using like a maniac. But to hear that I got sober, you know, I mean, people look at me today, they're gonna think two things: either he's lying, or there is a God, because I know that guy.
For sure.
Type thing.
For sure. So with manifesting this, because a lot of people have a really hard time tapping into that.
Yeah.
How did you manifest this? Like when you said you started, you know, praying, doing these things, and it aligned you where you needed to be. So for someone out there that's like, man, I wish I could do what he's doing. I wish I could find that drive and power. I wish I could manifest something in my life. Like, what would your suggestion be to someone out there watching, having that problem?
Well, I would say this is what I have done. I know people, I'm not trying to necessarily say you got to believe what I believe or anything like that.
What works for you?
Yeah, what I have done above everything, above literally everything, I have sought after God with my whole heart. And in doing so, my purpose was revealed. See, the created cannot tell you what it was created for. Like my cell phone cannot tell me what its purpose is. I learned something from I think it was Dr. Miles Monroe or T.D. Jakes. He said, if you don't know the purpose of a thing, then abuse is inevitable. If you don't know the purpose of a wife, you will abuse her. If you know the purpose of children, you will abuse them. You know, it's knowing we're all created for a purpose. So like what I do, you know, outside of sponsorship and like I have my own clients I work with. Yes, longevity, long-term sobriety, definitely foundation. But outside of that is helping and guiding people to their purpose, because I have experienced that, and life is just so much different. I mean, purpose, it's more than motivation, it's more than inspiration and like this good feeling. You know, it's purpose. It's what you know gets me up in the morning, and it's what keeps me up late at night. You know, but the place where I'm very weak at right now, because I got such this passion and drive for doing what I do, it started to affect my marriage, my family life, because I cannot be all into helping people struggling with drugs and alcohol and all into my family at the same time. I cannot. So learning to be balanced is so important. That's something I'm still learning, because in the middle of the last year, I over 1 year, I went live on Instagram with another alcoholic, another drug addict. Somebody went through treatment, stay sober. Somebody went through church. Somebody went through therapy, 12 steps, whatever it was. You know, it didn't matter to me because it inspires hope, and I think that's what people need more than ever. So, you know, I started doing that, and it was Saturday and Sunday, and then my wife was like, we can't ever do anything on the weekends because you're doing this. Why don't you just go live on Saturdays 2 times? I was like, okay, I can do that. I fought her on a little bit, to be honest. And then I said, okay. Because, you know, a marriage, it's give and take. It's not take. It
is,
you know, you got to give, you know. And then now I haven't gone live in like 2 months. You know, just I wanted to focus more on my family, you know, my son, and help raise him, take care. Because even I have experienced it sober, and I have experienced it active in my addiction. My presence doesn't make me present.
No, it's
even
so
when
true.
I'm at home, I'm like, people are calling me. I'm on my social media. I got, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. I'm on my laptop. I'm working. I'm meeting with sponsors. I'm meeting with my sponsor. You know, and that takes away time from my family. And my wife, she got fed up with it one day, you know, and she confronted me. We had to talk about it. And everything she said was true. I agreed with everything, you know, because God does not want me to fulfill my purpose at the expense of my family.
Right.
He don't want that. So right now in this season of my life, I am learning how to be balanced because, you know, I'm either all in or I'm all out.
I'm the same way. And for me, like I had emotionally relapsed a few times in my recovery because I was just doing that. And I was, in a sense, even though it was a positive thing, I was like trading an addiction in a way by obsessing on something else. And so, yeah, I totally feel that. And like having that balance, because when you have that balance and you're pouring into your family, you're able to be the best version of yourself. And I feel like it opens the space for like new things to come in as well, to like better you in the other area as well. Fun question for you I want to ask.
Okay.
So who's one of your role models and why? And why?
Okay. Can I name a few?
Name your top 3.
Top 3?
Yeah.
Okay, the first one would be my dad. My dad, you know, he, I mean, despite, we all got flaws, you know, but in the process of recovery and experiencing God's love, God's forgiveness, His grace, His mercy, I can overlook people's faults. You know, you ever heard the term long suffering? Long suffering is basically you keep the relationship intact even though you find out all their faults. You know, and so my dad, I've learned, I mean, a lot of leadership. I've learned, you know, he's an entrepreneur. I became an entrepreneur, and he's taught me so much. And this is the truth. And my dad is going to love this when he sees this.
Hi, Dad.
So if I actually listened to my dad's direction, if I followed his direction from when I was young, I wouldn't have ended up where I'm at today. However, God had a plan. I wouldn't be sitting in this chair. I wouldn't have been helped everybody I've helped so far. I wouldn't really necessarily had a purpose. It could have been something different. But my dad definitely is one of my role models, you know, and I love my dad. Like despite everything, you know, like we've butted heads. I have disrespected him. I have dishonored him so much, and you know, active in my addiction, and you know, my relationship with him is not like that anymore today. You know, it's amazing. You know, the process of recovery, it's totally transformed your life. Yeah. And then, so I don't know. You heard about this guy Sober Fausto? You heard that name before?
I think he's been here before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I met him. A short story. So I had a friend in Nevada who was my graphic designer. He's sober too. All my friends are sober, actually.
Yeah.
You know, but so I met him to help me do some stuff on my website, and then he reached out to me one day. He said, "Hey, there's this company called Using My Story. They're based in Anaheim, and like." You know, I did an interview with them. Like, you probably should go do it. You're closer. You can go down there. So I was like, okay. So he sent me their website. I was on their website, and I was scrolling through all the testimonials. And I just stopped on one. I was like, oh, let me see what this guy is talking about. So I clicked it, and it was Fausto. And I heard this guy's story. It was like, I don't know, 10, 11 minutes long. I was like, I have to meet this guy. You know, so I looked him up on social media, and I found him. We connected. And you know, I got to know him more and more, and I have heard, you know, being an entrepreneur, I've heard tons of speakers in my life before, and even in recovery, circuit speakers, I heard a lot of different speakers. Up to this point, before I met him, I never ever met somebody that can carry the message of hope the way this guy does,
Right on.
especially with his backstory. If you know what happened to him and he can still smile, that to me is so encouraging.
Yeah.
You know, it's very attractive, that kind of stuff. You know, people who are living in the dark, like how I was, you know, when you're in the dark and you see the light, it's really attractive. You want to go, hey, what's that? You know, and this guy, he's a big, bright, shining light, you know. And then another person is Chief Pastor Phil Aguilar. I have developed a relationship with him recently. He started to mentor me, and I mean, this guy, one thing that I know, I learned this in business, but I can apply it in life in general, is that one thing I know that money cannot buy. It cannot buy a lot of things, but specifically one thing I know it cannot buy is experience. I mean, Pastor Phil is 74 years old.
Yeah.
All of his experience, I read one of his books. It's called How to Build an Empire and How to Burn One Down. And the common thread is that of how he gained everything, he lost it, he gained everything, he lost it, was pride. He says there's two types of people on this planet: people who are humble and people who are on their way to being humbled.
Yep.
I mean,
So true.
that was me all the way until I got into recovery.
Me too.
You know?
Right on. Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to spin it a little bit. So let's fast forward. Say your son was sitting in this seat and he was talking about role models.
Okay.
And he was talking about you. What would you hope he would say?
I hope he would say, oh no, wait. This is always a touchy thing for me, my family.
Yeah.
But I would hope, this is what I would want my son to remember me by, is that I was a man that sought after God with my whole heart. Oh, okay. I got it.
You got it.
I was a man that sought after God with my whole heart. Excuse me. Woo! I don't know what's going on with all this
your
stuff.
son.
Yeah, you know. But like, I mean, I would want him to think of me that way. That I raised him up correctly. I taught him right from wrong. But more than all of that, I lived it. I didn't just tell him that. I lived it. I you know, how you treat women, how you treat people in general. You know, my son, he will definitely know me for loving him unconditionally. That's something that I practice and I gotten good at it. You know, but I don't love everybody that way, you know. But that's something, because honestly, it's from my own experiences and all of the hardships I put myself through, all the times I used people and I did this, I stole stuff, and, you know, running and gunning on the streets, and how God forgave me and how, you know, he still loved me. I just feel compelled to do the same thing for other people, especially my family though, you know. But that's something I know for sure that my son, I will make sure that I am his role model. Not the people on TV or on the billboards. I am his role model. If something goes wrong in his life as he gets older, it's not because of him, it's because of me. I failed as a parent, you know, so I take that very seriously. Like, my wife can talk about this. Like, I don't know, when it comes to me talking good about me and stuff, I don't know, it's kind of, you know, my pride is like, yeah, go ahead, bro, go ahead, you know, you know, but I was like, my pride is why I got myself in this mess in the first place. You know, but that's something I know for sure. I will make sure that will happen, you know.
I love that. What has your family taught you the most in sobriety?
Well, again, my family, like, I made amends to all my family members, financial amends, you know, amends period. And one thing I never got from any of them was judgment. I never felt judged. I never, what I felt from them was love, it's okay, it's I forgive you. You know, when you start to experience these things for yourself, I don't know, me, I just was so grateful. And that's why when people, you know, like, they need forgiveness, they need love, like, oh, no problem. Like, I just, you know, and this is something I want to mention. So I think it's been 1,764 days I've been sober.
Right on.
So, but I hold something else in higher regard than that. I have been resentment free for 1,035 days. Now, somebody recently asked me that, like, wait, how did you, well, like, they want to know more. So this is my answer I gave him. He said, look, this is how I know, like, when I didn't cop a resentment towards somebody, is when I feel the offense or the hurt or something, and I still treat them the same. I don't treat them
Yes.
any differently.
Yes.
You know, I don't know, man. Like, you know, Pastor Phil talks about being a professional forgiver, but I was, you know, practicing that before I met him. But that's just like confirmation, you know, because of the wild man I was, the people I've hurt, the damage I've done. Like, I cannot do enough good in the world to make up for all that stuff. That's how it feels. It might not be the truth, but it's my reality
It's your
type
reality.
of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your sobriety now, right? If someone came up to you and said, and they say they've been living off the grid, right? Raised by wolves.
Okay.
They've never heard of sobriety recovery. And they asked you, well, what is the meaning? Describe to me what recovery means to you. Tell me. Well, how would you describe it?
So, if somebody don't know the difference between recovery and sobriety, that was living under a rock, you know, I would talk about what sobriety is first. You know, total abstinence from any kind of drug or drink, anything that can alter your mind, your mood, just to kind of, you know, lay the foundation. That way I can, you know, when I describe what recovery is, has more of an impact, because sobriety, in my opinion, it sucks, to be honest. You know, not like what recovery did was fix the things in me that was broken. You know, so people, human beings in general can relate to this when I explain it. Non-addicts, non-alcoholics understand, because we all have flaws. You know, like are you, like, I would start asking them questions first, really, to get to know, you know, what their vices are, what they struggle with. Because it doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol.
No, it doesn't.
Like, I mean, this is just my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
So any human being on the planet that works the 12-step program, their life will never be the same. It will
Amen
be
to that. I tell people that all the time.
Impossible.
Everybody
it's literally
should work
impossible.
it. Yeah, everyone should work
You know,
it.
like my wife even's working her steps. She is nowhere near drug addict or alcoholic.
Yeah.
You know, like she barely ever even drinks, like ever, you
Yeah.
know. And she's never done drugs in her life. But when she sits in my meeting, when we're dating, I went to one meeting 7 days a week for 2 years straight. I brought her to every meeting that I went to, and she came.
Amazing.
And she started to hear, and she started to listen, she started to relate, and she never struggled with drugs and alcohol before. You know, if you think about it, anybody who watched this, the first step in any 12-step program, only the first step talks about drugs and or alcohol.
Yep.
The other 11 has nothing to do with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, no,
You know?
absolutely. It's all those character defects and being accountable and having that insight and being of service. Okay, one last question. To anyone out there that's struggling, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, or I'll tell you guys, first of all, that I love you. That's what I would say. And above everything, this involves recovery. This involves your life. If you got a drug problem, you got a marriage problem, you got an alcohol problem, you got a gambling problem, money problem, a porn addiction, eating disorder. If you have any kind of vice or problem in your life, this is the piece of advice that has benefited me the most in my entire life. Nothing will come close to this one. And I'm gonna be honest, you guys might heard this one before, is build a relationship with God. Build a relationship with God. You got a marriage problem, money problem, building a relationship with God gave me the life that I have today. My obedience to God, because I was the opposite. I was super defiant, rebellious. You know, I had bold resistance against authority. You couldn't tell. I was unteachable, uncoachable. I knew everything. My favorite alcoholic, non-alcoholic, whatever, is what has changed my life the most. It wasn't recovery. Wasn't the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. See, in the first page or in the chapter to the agnostic, I needed to intervene in my life, and he did when I was ready.
Yeah.
I finally raised my hand. Okay, I'm finally breathing up enough. I'm ready to do it your way. I've been doing it my way, and it got me almost. I experienced every single death except the physical death. You know, and I was ready. I was broken.
Yeah.
Full on.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. All right. So for everyone out there that's watching, where can they get a hold of you? If someone wants to reach out, talk to you, know more about what you're doing, where can they find you?
Well, my phone number is. I'm just kidding.
His address is.
I'm just kidding. So for my nonprofit, our website is prorecoverypower.com. All social media platforms, again, it's Pro Recovery Power. Yes, you guys want to get